Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear sisters. So this is the translation of the message that she sent to me. The translation, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nash, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? Originally, I am from Zim. I am 36 years old now, and I have 2 kids. So living and working currently on a grape farm near Cape Town. I am staying with one of my child that I had with this other man, a South African man. So he is in prison right now. So I have my own story that I want to share with you. When I came to South Africa, I only had one child, but as I look back on my life, there is one chapter that I can never forget about how I met this man and how I had my child, one that still haunts me to this very day. So it was in 2011 when I first came to South Africa in search for a better life. I had no idea then that my pursuit of survival would lead me into the grips of a man whose behavior was beyond anything that I could ever imagine. This man, Brother Nash, when you would look at him, you would not even think that this man mentally he was not okay. He was handsome and he was very polite and humble, but he manipulated me. That is what I started to find out, because when I started dating him, all of a sudden, Brother Nash, I was sleeping with him. Yet I had given myself a task that at least a man that I was going to sleep with after I had divorced my husband from my first marriage, that man, at least I had to introduce him to my parents so that he can marry me. But this man, he had a way with words, the way that he manipulated me. I found myself in his bed. Back in Zim, life had become unbearable. The economy was collapsing and jobs were hard to find, like many others. And since I was married to a man who was a heavy drinker, all that he cared about was going to the village market and to drink all day long. That was when I said it is far much better to divorce him. And then I decided to cross the border and try my luck in South Africa. I thought that I could work on farms, save money, and maybe even send something back home to help my family. I had no plan, I don't want to lie. I just had hope and I had desperation in my heart. When I arrived in South Africa, that was when I found work on an orange farm in an area that is called Marble Hall in Limpopo. It was hard work, back-breaking labor. It was not easy to pick up those oranges for a low salary, but it was better, I told myself, than starving back home. There was a small community of other Zimbabweans that were working there. And Brother Nashi, I started staying in the location because when I started working on that farm, I was staying also on that farm until I was told that there was this other location where most of the people were staying. Then we would come to work. So I started working in that. I started staying in that community. But I don't want to lie to you. I was really lonely. I had not been with a man for the longest time. I tried to tell myself that I was strong enough. That was when I met a man. So this man, he was in his late 30s, and at first he seemed really kind. He worked on this other farm, but he was working as a supervisor. He took an interest in me right away. So I did not know much about him at first, but I just knew that this man, he was someone that was kind to me. I was vulnerable. I had just crossed into a new country and I could not even speak any of the local languages, and I was far from home. This man, it seemed as if he offered me protection and a place to stay. I thought maybe that this was my chance to build a new life, because what was happening in that community was that if they would see that you were from Zim, there were those boys that would be waiting by the spaza shops. Then they would ask to rent from you. So the local people knew how to deal with them. But since if you were new in that location, then you will take out some money and then they will see that you have enough money. Then they will grab the money from you. So I thought that this man, he was going to offer me protection and comfort, but I was wrong, very, very wrong. His behavior started to change not long after he had convinced me to move in with him. At first he was sweet, but soon enough the cracks began to show. He became a man that was possessive, always asking where I was going, who I was talking to, What was I doing? He would check my little phone constantly, accusing me of seeing other men. I thought maybe it was normal jealousy, that he was just overprotective because of how dangerous things could get for me, he said, in his country. But then the nights started. It started one weekend when he said that he just wanted to have a nice time. He bought his alcohol, and then the habit started. He had this habit of blasting music all night, each and every night from that weekend. Whether we had returned back from work or what, he was always blasting his music. He kept on playing the same songs over and over again. It was always Lucky Dube or Machikos. At first I liked the music, but after weeks of hearing it at full volume every night, I felt like I was losing my mind. He would not let me sleep. It was as if the music was some sort of a ritual for him, a way to keep control over the house. The louder the music, the crazier he became. He would be sitting on this old sofa whilst he would be smoking his weed. He would sit in the living room, switch off the lights with a machete in his hand. He would hold that long knife like this thing was an extension of his body. His eyes, they were really terrible to look at. Sometimes even staring at me. So this is what he used to do. If I would close the door to the bedroom, he would come and he would open it up and he would take a washing basket that would be full of clothes, and then he would place that washing basket in front of the door so that the door won't close. And I was even scared. There were many nights when I would just sit. He would be staring at me, you know, like he would be sitting in the dark, but I would feel that this man is looking at me. Then I would switch on the light and I'll also be staring at him. And at that time I was really scared. This was the time when I had realized that I had fallen pregnant for him. He would start laughing when I would tell him to turn the music down, and then he will say, the music is speaking to me, you do not understand. I even began to fear for my life. I would lie in bed shaking, even the sound of Lucky Dube's prisoner rigging in my ears, wondering if he was going to snap and use that long knife on me. Sometimes he would stand by the bed just staring at me, gripping the hand of the blade. I would pretend as if I am fast asleep, praying that he would not do anything to me. He became more unpredictable as time went on. Sometimes when I would want to leave, especially during the weekends, he would be like, no, where do you want to go to? There is no need for you to go anywhere. This is the weekend. Let us spend the weekend at home. Otherwise, you are going to get stabbed out there. He was like isolating me. He hated to see me speaking with other people that were from Zim, and I had no friends at work. He even had his own spy. There was this other man who was from Zim, who was a tractor driver. That man, he always wanted to find favor since he used to give him this weed, so he would be my spy. I pretended as if I did not know that he was my spy at work, and I had no one to turn to. When I was not working on the farm, it was me and him with his music. The worst part was that he seemed to enjoy frightening me. Even when he would make love to me, he would drop that long knife on the floor. The sound that he used to make, it was really terrifying, as if this was his way of having power over me. One night, he woke me up in the middle of the night by blasting the music even louder than usual. When I got up, he was standing in the kitchen, slamming the machete against the counter. He smiled at me and he said, do you think I could kill you in one swing, or would I have to do it twice? I stood there, not knowing whether he was serious or just trying to terrify me. There was this other way that he used to play with the knife on the floor, so much that it was really scary. You would not look at him twice without running away. I don't know how I survived with him. I was terrified to leave him, even more terrified to stay. Being with him, it was like walking on eggshells. He would not beat you up, but the way that he used to act, it was so scary. I was always quiet. I thought about running away, and then I said, I am pregnant already. And after I get given birth, Brother Nashi, that was when I overheard him talking to a friend about his girlfriend. He mentioned her in passing, and it didn't seem like much at first, but he then laughed and he said she thought she could leave me. I am going to show her. So on that day, that was when I thought of visiting his other sister. I went to the sister, and when I was with the sister, that was when I asked about the ex-girlfriend, and she told me that the ex-girlfriend had stolen some money from him. It was transport money, she said, and had since returned that money. She was now working in Gauteng, but she was now back for the month end. But then that was when we had the sad news that later on she was found dead, stabbed in her own home, and the rumor was that he was the one who was suspicious, even though no one had proof of it. But with time, that was when I heard that he was arrested, Brother Nashi. When I heard that he was arrested, I could not stay at his sister's house anymore. That was when I contacted this other cousin of mine who had came to South Africa but was living in Cape Town. It was almost I was in hiding. I was staying at this other woman's house who was from Zim. So she had found work on a grape farm, she told me, and she said I could stay with her until I figured things out. So it has been years since I left that place called Marble Hall. Now I am in Cape Town. Even now, like, I'm still working on this grape farm, but I never received any counseling. Anonymous crying. I never received any counseling at all in my life. It's like I always hear this man when he is playing. It's like I always hear this man playing his loud music at night, watching me. I don't know how to remove that image from my head. When I see someone holding a long knife, I always feel really scared. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sisters. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. If there is anything that is traumatic that happened to you, you can bring your own story and share with us. Yo,